Well, here we are. Wednesday, June 15th, 2022. I'm Larissa. How you doing? It's still morning. It's nice and cool. Brody's not allowed to be out here today with me while I do this because he has launched an assault from the shitty committee. And he's mad at me. He's mad at me because yesterday I called him out for eating carcass, right? I saw the pieces of carcass in his turds. Where he getting all that gray fur and them bones? You shouldn't be eating that shit. And who the hell knows if people around here are poisoning their rats, right? He has no business eating carcass. He got enough food. He don't need to eat carcass too. So he's mad at me because I called him out for eating carcass. And then he's mad at me because I was having booby in the sunshine day yesterday, and I wouldn't let him get near my boobies. And he always gets mad about that. He always tries to come out. I'll be laying there in the sun, enjoying it, and then he comes over and he sticks his cold wet nose and tries to lick my boobies, and I'm like, get out of here with your interspecies bullshit. So he was mad about that. And then when I was out there, some of my squash plants were looking a little like, I was like, oh, I have not been watering enough, right? So I gave him a little drink to perk him up, and he's a lunatic. He's a lunatic with the hose. And so I was yelling at him, called him the dick nuts. He got called dick nuts yesterday because he was just being such a jerk. He was being total dick nuts, and yapping in my ear, like trying to get at the hose, at the water coming out of the hose. So this morning, he was funny. He saw me coming out here, and he didn't come running to come with me, right? He looked all pleased with himself, and I was like, "What's up with you?" Because he just stood up and he was like, Well, I saw when I came out here because he'd already been out to go do his business this morning, and he left a big steaming pile right at the end of the walkway. Like he thought I was going to step in it. That's his favorite game. It's his favorite game. He plays it with, I have to keep him in the house when there's people here working in the yard with us, because he will watch where you're walking, right? You have a path going back and forth, doing some task, and he'll go and he'll squeeze one out. Even if it's just one nasty turd, he will go and squeeze it out right where you're walking, and then he'll sit and watch and wait. See you step in his poop. Shitty committee. I'll tell him. I didn't step in it, dude. I didn't step in it. There's somebody in this neighborhood who's on the shitty committee too. They came over last season. When I was making all the plum jam, the plum sauce, and the prunes and all that stuff from the plum tree, processing all them plums. I had shared some of my plum sauce with people because it's a lot, you know. It was human poop. Somebody came over and took a bunch of plums off my tree and then took a shit under my tree. It was human poops. I know the difference. I know a human turd when I seen a human turd. Turds. Shitty committee. So, this necklace is one of the first pieces I made in school. Not the first, but one of the first. And I love this piece. So each of these little S hooks, how many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 S hooks on here, and they are all forged tapers. They are. Each one of them. Forged taper. And they're all the same size. Smell you, Larissa. I'm not too bad. I put them on. Did I put on my deodorants? I might not have yet. I have to go in and put on my deodorants. I make deodorant. I do. I make deodorant. And the other day when it was so hot, my deodorant melted. I went to go put it on, and it was like liquid, gooey. It's solid again now. But yeah, I use coconut oil in my deodorant. Predominantly coconut oil. So it doesn't really, it starts to soften faster than products made with olive oil. Yeah, and I made all of the jump rings. All of these jump rings. Made all of them. And little sister hook clasp. A sweet little sister hook clasp. And then these So this is a combination of sterling silver and copper. These pieces are copper, and they're not dapped. They are sunk and planished and patinaed. So, and then buffed and then sealed. So they were fun. But you see, I was just learning, so I got a little wanky edge on this one. It's not nice and smooth. And I didn't learn, I hadn't learned to planish the edge yet. But it's a nice piece. It's a nice piece. I worked with this rounded triangle shape for a long time. Yeah. I read somewhere, us gypsies, when we were given, yeah, and I think that's a slur. So when the Roma were given their patch to wear, right, by Hitler, it was a brown triangle. I read that somewhere. That was our marking. Oh. I like this piece. It's a little bit much, and it's going to be warm today, and I don't want to wear it around my neck. My big fat neck, right? These earrings, these are natural, Baroque pearls, pink Baroque pearls, natural. And then around it, I have a little halo of ruby teardrops. I've worn these before. And then this dress, well, this is an iteration of my clown suit. And I call this my Jello Biafra clown suit because he wears a shirt in a video for, is that Holiday in Cambodia? That's got this print. This fabric is a silk cotton blend. It's Italian. But the print's a little bit bigger on this yardage than it was on the shirt that Jello Biafra wears. But just imagine that I have green rubber gloves on. I can't wear rubber gloves. I'm allergic to latex. They gotta be vinyl or neoprene for me to wear them. I'm allergic to latex. Earrings. These earrings. I have lots of earrings. I make lots of earrings. And when I was selling my jewelry out of a gallery in Palo Alto before that woman got all uppity and mad that I had an Arabic last name and told me that I needed to come get my stuff. And I told her she needed to honor our contract because I had taken out an ad, paid 10 grand for an ad in the San Francisco magazine. Eventually she did. Eventually she gave in and she was like, okay, you can keep your work here. But I was selling stuff out of there regularly. Selling earrings. Earrings. And there's this asshole in Oakland. His name was Omar. Not my Omar. Some other asshole named Omar. And he moved into town. He came from Chicago. Gangster from Chicago, came in throwing parties, told me that I wasn't allowed to have my gallery anymore, and that the only thing I was allowed to sell was earrings. Yeah, he fucking thought he was going to tell me that shit. He told me that he could tell me what to do because he was Muslim and I had a Muslim name. That's the kind of garbage coming out of Chicago. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Fuck you, dude. Fuck you. Got my cards. And I was wrong yesterday. We have one more fella to meet. From consenting adults. One more fella to meet. Stewart. I wrote this one on January 30th, 2022. Stewart ran his hands over the leather-covered steering wheel and took a deep breath. Every 6 months or so, Aunt Beverly let him sit in his uncle's blue 63 Thunderbird convertible. His Uncle Tom drove it once a year in the 4th of July parade. He was the only and original owner, and the car was in amazing condition. Uncle Tom knew Stewart loved the car. So did he. Uncle Tom didn't know Aunt Beverly had told Stewart Tom was leaving him the car in his will. It was supposed to be a surprise, but Beverly had not been able to keep the secret. Stewart could, as long as it meant the car would be his someday. Uncle Tom was funny about the car. When he and Stewart would talk about it, Stu felt like he was talking to a very jealous ex-boyfriend about a girl he was dating. The car was beautiful, and the aroma of the leather interior mixed with the bouquet of diesel was enough to make Stewart hard if he sat too long. "Stu, you better come back in the house, hun. Your uncle's going to be home soon," Aunt Beverly said, her head and her left hand the only parts of her popping out from the door between the garage and the house. Stewart smiled and nodded at his aunt, who ducked back in the house. Stewart pulled a hanky from his pocket and wiped any possible fingerprints from anywhere as he got out of the car. The new set of white walls were so pretty, he thought as he stepped into his aunt's warm kitchen. A pot of soup was bubbling on the stove. Aunt Beverly was turning it down and stirring. Stewart had been living in the cottage unit behind his aunt and uncle's house since college. It had started out they were letting him stay there because they lived 10 minutes off campus, and the dorms were expensive, especially for out-of-state students. After graduation, he had picked up steady copy editing work and contributed content to several periodicals. On the side, he sold knives. The living situation was amicable, and Uncle Tom suggested they put together a lease. Stewart had been very grateful. Apartments half the size of the granny unit were twice the price his aunt and uncle were offering. Plus, he had parking and at least one home-cooked meal a week, and for the most part, they kept out of each other's business. It was the best of all worlds for all of them. Aunt Beverly was Stewart's mother's older sister. Living on opposite sides of the country, they didn't really see or talk to each other much, and Stewart didn't really know his aunt and uncle until he moved out for college. He talked to his mother every couple months. She and Aunt Beverly never actually spoke. They only knew of each other through Stewart. It was enough for everyone. "Are you joining us for dinner tonight? I'm making vegetable soup." Aunt Beverly pointed to the pot on the stove with her wooden spoon. "Only if it's not a problem." Stewart didn't like to impose too much. Money was tight for everyone. None of them went without, but both of them had a budget. "You're more than welcome," his aunt smiled. "Go pour us both a glass of wine." Beverly nodded toward a bottle of Cab breathing on the table next to 3 wine glasses. "Don't pour one for your uncle just yet. I don't know if he and Chuck went out for beers or just to the range. He doesn't like to drink after beer." Stewart knew this, but he let his aunt remind him. He poured 2 glasses and returned to the kitchen and handed one to his aunt. It was interesting. Aunt Beverly and his mom were sisters, but Aunt Beverly looked like Grandma's family, and his mom looked like Grandpa's family. Side by side, you would have never guessed they were related. The evening went as many Sunday evenings had gone for the past 12 years. Aunt Beverly chatted on about some recent archaeological discovery she had read about, or some ecological issue she was researching. Stewart listened, asking questions about the publisher of the article or if they were selling T-shirts for a fundraiser. Uncle Tom came home from wherever his weekly Sunday solo outing took him. Uncle Tom called Sunday afternoons his Tom time, and only did what he felt like doing, and not with Aunt Beverly or Stewart. Once Tom got home from Tom time, they all had dinner together. Then Stewart went home and either did some editing or played a game of chess online with a stranger before going to bed. This night went pretty much the same, except one thing. As Stewart got up to leave, his uncle caught his arm and said in a very serious voice, "It's been a while since you have had a date. You're not getting younger, Stu, and as pleased as your aunt and I are to have you here, you don't want to end up like us. There's something to be said for having children. Let me know the next time you're taking a woman out. I'll let you take the Thunderbird. That car's got power." Tom nodded, as if it were another sentence, looking into Stewart's shocked face, then got up and stomped back to his bedroom and slammed the door. Aunt Beverly looked as shocked as Stewart. Stewart turned to see her frozen in the doorway between the kitchen and the dining room. After a moment, she shook her head and shrugged her shoulders. Stewart watched as his aunt smiled, a small, sad kind of smile, then shrunk as she turned and retreated into the kitchen while waving him to leave behind her. Stewart didn't know what to do. He froze until he heard muffled sobs and his aunt finally say, "Please go," in a hoarse whisper. Stewart looked briefly down the hall after his uncle then let himself out the front door. Back in his place, Stewart replayed the evening's events in his mind. His uncle was right about one thing. He hadn't been on a date in a while. He went over all the women he knew currently. The only one who was even close to being Thunderbird worthy was Elise. But she was married and his current biggest supply of work, so it was out of the question. He fell asleep thinking a strange salad of thoughts, feeling an even stranger mix of feelings. What his uncle had said had cut his aunt in a way he had never seen and hadn't expected. Was he saying he thought of him as a son, or that he simply tolerated him? Did he want him to move? There hadn't been any problems, and man, on top of it, he might actually get to drive that car. For the next month, Stewart approached every single woman he encountered as a potential shot at driving that car, even the older ones. Heck, his aunt was still pretty enough, and who was he to complain about age? That car was a classic. He'd never thought about it, but women just might be the same. His aunt had just pretended the night hadn't happened. It was a little weird and hung in the air between them. He wanted to hug his aunt, but they had never been a super huggy family, so he didn't. Sunday dinners were still good, but they weren't quite the same. Now, each night before he left the table, indicating it was time for Stewart to go, his Uncle Tom would say, "Let me know when you're ready for those keys." Then his aunt would smile weakly and clear the table. One Monday morning, Stu decided he was going to go to the park to run a couple laps and then see if he could pick up a game of chess with one of the old-timers. Plus, there were a bunch of power-walking ladies. Maybe he'd get lucky. His workload was a little light that week. Who knew? He had some extra time on his hands. He could ramp up his Thunderbird efforts. It was a rough morning. He was unequivocally shot down by every single woman he even attempted to make eye contact with. Then, when he approached an old-timer he recognized from other visits to the park, not only was he shot down, he was given an earful, and this particular old-timer knew Stewart could actually play. Though he had never played against Stewart, he had watched Stewart play before. The old-timer addressed Stewart as he approached the chess tables. "Don't even think about it, buddy. All the women have been talking about you being creepy for a couple weeks now. I don't know what your problem is or isn't. Women are fickle birds, but if I play with you, they'll think I'm okay with it, and believe it or not, an old man like me still likes to get some pussy from time to time." The old-timer laughed, showing off a number of gold teeth. Stewart stopped in front of the guy and flopped his arms against the sides of his body in exasperation. For crying out loud! Since when is saying hello to a person creepy? How's a man expected to meet a woman anyway? Stewart almost yelled at him. The old-timer laughed even harder. "Who the hell knows with women? But maybe it has something to do with you going after the ones my age. Or maybe you're just trying too hard. How the hell am I supposed to know? I'm just telling you what I've been hearing, son." Stewart turned away from the man and the chessboards. Maybe he just didn't want to play Stewart. Stewart knew he could beat the guy. They'd both seen each other play, and chess players were a strange lot. Stewart was walking with his head down, looking at the car keys in his hands, so he didn't see her come around the bend in front of him. A woman came power-walking around the bend, singing along to herself with her headphones, and collided with the equally distracted Stewart. Both fell to the gravel ground. Stewart scrambled to grab his keys and stand back up so he could help her up, too. "I'm so sorry," he was saying. The woman pressed up into a tabletop position before standing up and looking at Stewart. A drip of blood was starting to fall from a cut just to the right of her eye from the fall. Stewart pulled his hanky from his pocket to catch the blood before it got in her eyes. She caught his hand and took the hanky from him, blotting the wound herself. "Who carries a hanky these days?" she said, pulling it away from her face to assess the amount of blood. "This better have been clean," she finished, pressing it back to the still bleeding wound and smiling at Stewart, who was now blushing. "It was," he said apologetically. The woman laughed, and it sounded like music. Stewart offered his arm to help the woman, who was now limping, to a nearby bench. Sitting with the mid-morning sun in their eyes, Stewart stopped seeing anything but the woman in front of him and asked, "Do you like old cars?" Like what? Model Ts, Studebakers, Mustangs. What are we talking about? Foreign or domestic? I love cars. I do. They're interesting art. They really are. Really interesting art. And the technology, and the history of technology, and the influence in fine art world, the point where fine art and industrial art cross. Super interesting. Super interesting. Super cool, right? Super cool. Yeah, my hair's a little different color. I put a henna product on it yesterday because my hair was looking frizzy fried. And henna is a natural dye, and it is also a natural conditioner. And I use a henna product called Surya Brazil, home hair dye product. You know, it's like on par price wise with like the other L'Oreal products or Gardner Nutrice or whatever. It comes, it's already a cream. Anyway, it makes your hair real soft. It's nice. So the color I used is darker than what my hair color actually is. Usually I use a color that matches my hair. But it'll rinse out and fade. It'll get lighter. My hair will go back to being that same red color that it naturally grows out of my head as. Same color hair my pappy had before he lost it in the war. Same color my Aunt Eleanor had before her hair all turned gray. My Aunt Eleanor. She was a nice lady. She loved to play tennis. Tennis and golf. She was a real nice lady. She was. Her and my Uncle Andy. Aunt Eleanor and I used to write letters. I had a number of aunts that I used to... She was my great aunt. She was my pappy's sister, little sister. I had a number of great aunts that I used to write letters with, correspond with. My Aunt Eleanor, my Aunt Audrey, my Aunt Irene, and my Aunt... Sister Mary Beth. Everybody called her Sister Mary Beth. She was a nun. Her name was Cecilia. Her given name was Cecilia, but Sister Mary Beth. She was a nurse and a nursing instructor, and her mother house was in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, and she worked at a hospital in Mobile, Alabama that served predominantly HIV-positive community. She died of a rare brain tumor, but she was old. She was old. But it was a rare brain tumor. I think it was the same kind of brain tumor as Joe Biden's son, who died of a brain tumor. Oh, doing this backwards. We're going to do it totally backwards today. Guess I'm reading Osho first. So, center card here, we have an upright 6. Success. Look at this guy riding the tiger. Ride the tiger, baby, ride the tiger. And forces at play that you may not be aware of. Major Arcana reversed, slowing down. No more going at a turtle's pace. We're going fast. And now, forces at play that you're probably aware of. Upright number 10, suppression. Oh, God, yeah. Been being held down, babe. Been being held down. And then course of action. Got a reverse 5, clinging to the past. Let that shit go. Let it go. Oh, my God. I don't care what Snoop Dogg say about that song. Let it go. I got to hear that crappy Disney garbage again. I really dislike the Disney product. I dislike the company culture. Really dislike Disney. Really. And then outcome. That's personal, though. That's my personal view. There's a lot of people who agree. Outcome. I have a Roman numeral 11. breakthrough. Let's see what the angels have to say. If we're going backwards, the angel's still going to be in the middle. Stuck in the middle with you. Well, I don't know why I came here tonight. I got a feeling that something ain't right. There we go. So, in the center, on the top of the upright 6, we have an upright 4 of fire. Contentment, peace, abundance, a happy home life, the successful completion of a project. And on top of forces at play that you may not be aware of, the reversed slowing down, we have a reversed 2 of air, being unable or unwilling to make a decision, a stalemate, pretending there is no problem. So no, not slowing down, we're speeding up, and we are moving forward. Decisions have been made. Decisions have been made. Ooh, 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 look at this. So on the upright 10, for forces of play that you are probably aware of, suppression, we have an upright 11, strength, Archangel Ariel. Great inner strength, release harsh judgments, forgiveness and compassion. And on course of action, on the reverse 5, clinging to the past, we have an upright 7 of air, plans that need revision. You were wrong. You had to let that go. And you're like, oh, had to let that go. Poor timing. So, got to rethink things a little bit, right? And the outcome on top of the Roman numeral 11 breakthrough, we have Queen of Air, independent, experienced, realistic, witty. Objective decision-making, clearing away all that no longer serves you, seeing the humor in a situation. Jello Biafra. It's a holiday in Cambodia where people dress in black. Cambodia. All right. So, on top of the upright 6 success and 4 of fire, contentment, peace, abundance, we have an upright 31 innocence, inner child. Getting back to that core self success. And forces of play that you may be unaware of, the reverse slowing down, the reverse 2 of air, we have an upright 21, master healer, self-healing. Somebody been working on themselves. Good for you, baby. Good for you. And forces of play that you're probably aware of on the upright 10 and the upright 11. We have an upright 27, amethyst awakening, healing addictions. Let that shit go. Let it go. And a course of action on the reverse 5, clinging to the past, and the upright 7 of air, plans that need revision. We have an upright number 7, ancient wisdom, record keeper. Now it's a good thing somebody been keeping record, huh? Good thing. Good thing, huh? That lovely citrine. Look at that lovely citrine. It's got these interesting formations on its face. Interesting. Really interesting. And on the outcome, on the upright Roman numeral 11 breakthrough and upright Queen of Air, we have a reverse 23 guardian, family karma. What you think you're doing? My neck, it cracks. Snap, crackle, pop. So, anyway. Still have this painting in there that I am not working on right now. I think I want to do some collage work onto it. I think I want to do some collage work onto it. But I'm apprehensive to get, I have things kind of read up in there a little bit, and I'm apprehensive right now to make too much of a mess and get too into something and have a mess all over the house, you know? What am I going to make for dinner tonight? Oh, it depends on the weather. Maybe we'll barbecue. I got some frozen fishes in there. I got some tilapia fillets in the freezer. I like that tilapia. It's a real mild fish, and you can get it sustainably farmed, and it's tasty. Or it's kind of like the tofu of fish, really. It's mild, and so it pairs well with whatever you cook it with, and it's flaky, and it doesn't it doesn't have any kind of funky fishy flavor. And it goes good in tacos. I usually wrap the fish up with vegetables and potatoes and stuff, and some herbs and spices in foil, and then we put it on the barbecue, and it's real good, and then I'll make rice to go with it. That's probably what we'll do. It sounds good. I got coconut milk in there. Got coconut milk, and I'll probably cook it in some coconut milk with some of my hot pickled peppers, and maybe a couple tomatoes. And I have some ginkgo nuts in there that need to be used. Put those ginkgo nuts in there and some mushrooms. That sounds good. Ginkgo biloba. Ginkgo nuts. I don't know. I've been thinking about writing some music again. I have been. It's been fun. Thinking about it. Fun. Well, I don't know if it's been fun. It hasn't been real fun. Like I said the other day, I haven't had real fun, like, in a long time. I can't remember the last time I had real fun. I can't. But I'm listening to some of the cheesy country music. I was writing a lot of country music. The music I was writing, 10 years ago and before that was country music. And I was surprised because, like, I had no idea that I was going to write country music. Like, that, I don't know, that just surprised me. It surprised me when that's what I wrote. I've written some other stuff, too. Some folky kind of stuff. And I've written some soul music kind of stuff, too. I don't know. There was a song I wrote as a anniversary gift for Omar a while back, and then I did a dance performance as well, that song. Been times when memories have faded to gray through the years along the way, when love has gone away, and everything I thought I knew wasn't true when it came down to me and you. But as I turned away from everyone, I finally saw my reflection. And when I'm feeling blue, all I have to do is think of all the little things you do, like bring me coffee in bed, help me ease my aching head, wash my dishes and help me mop my floor. I couldn't ask for any more. I couldn't ask for any more. Yeah, you can ask for more. I mean, that's all nice and stuff, but it does get old, and if that's bare minimum. We've known each other a very, very, very long time. Oh, the bumblebees are out. The bumblebees are out and about. Having their sips of nectar, collecting their pollen on their bees' knees. I don't know, there's something blooming right now that wasn't blooming a couple days ago. And my eyes, I woke up this morning, my eyes were all itchy. And I'm a little puffy. There's something. I'm allergic to all kinds of shit around here. I am. Little birds. I love little birds. Oh my gosh, yesterday the eagle was out hunting. And when the eagle comes out to hunt, like I could see it, it was up there, it was real big. It was up real high, right? Real high, and it still looked as big as like what the ravens look like when they come over here and try and dive bomb over Brody, right? A huge bird. It's such a big bird. You see it up there. And all the little birds. I knew to look up because all the birds, all the animals got quiet. All the animals get quiet. You don't hear any little tweets. You don't hear any jabbers from the squirrels. You don't hear nothing. Except maybe the rustle of the trees. And even then, even the trees stand still when the eagle's out. I saw it. But then a big old truck came up my driveway and made a lot of noise, and the eagle took off. Oh, something else I have written. Oh, there's one called Raindance. Dreaming of a rain dance, dreaming of our last chance, the gentle touch of your hands, the lines around your eyes show you realize the power of this love, a gift from up above. Dreaming of the coastline, sipping on a fine wine, memory of the warm shine, the smile upon your lips, the rhythm of our hips. No music to be heard, no melody was needed, no words can quite express what our hearts plead to express, what truth dreams possess. It's poetry, right? There's different ways of approaching songwriting, right? There's the approach of chorus, verse, bridge, chorus, verse, chorus, right? Like, there's that. Or chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse with instrumental bridge. Or there is, like, free-form poetry, right? Joni Mitchell, she was a combination of chorus, verse, and poetic songwriting, right? Where I did a lot of the majority of my performances a cappella, and the majority of my work was written from a poetry standpoint. I used to really enjoy singing Joni Mitchell's work, and then after her and Neil Young got all shitty about freedom of speech, I was like, who the fuck are you? I was so disgusted. I've been disgusted by artists who have supported anti-freedom of speech. I mean, seriously. Especially the old fucking hippies. How dare you? How dare you? I was really angry about that. And I took her off of my playlists, and I quit singing her music. I used to really love singing her music. It's like, I won't roller skate to music. I won't dance to music I don't like. If I don't respect your work, I don't want to move my body to your music. When I go roller skating, you know, I would sit down when they play music I didn't approve of, if I didn't approve of the artist. if I didn't respect them. Like, even if I don't like the song, if I respect the artist, that's a totally different thing, right? I have that much respect for art, right? So I started just wearing my own headphones and listening to whatever the fuck I want to listen to. Because there are just some people. I will not dance to Beyonce. Mm-mm. I will not dance to Lady Gaga. Mm-mm. Guess I'm just a bitch. Guess I'm just a bitch. I'm hungry, bitch. Time to go make some breakfast.